All right, today's show is about the topic that I'll start out with, like I do every day, is to guide the conversation here. But of course, I'm happy to answer any questions, folks. Welcome to Green Card Guys TV. I'm your host, John Ting. I practice immigration law in all 50 states of America and worldwide to solve your immigration problem and hopefully prevent it from happening in the first place. Now, folks, today's topic is what can I do if not selected for H1B work visa? So, of course, some of y'all, some of y'all joining live right now might not be familiar with H1B, but it's still good for you to know, especially if you know maybe a family member who's abroad outside the U.S., or maybe they're currently here in the U.S. with a student visa. And of course, if you're working here in America, go to school here in America with a student visa, most likely, I think it's a safe assumption, you probably want to work here in America. So you need to know the future steps anyway. And I'm happy to answer. You can welcome to drop any questions in the comments. I'll definitely get to that soon. So for those folks who are not aware, as of today, if for the H1B registration, which they formerly called lottery, I still think it's called a lottery because that gives the indication that it's randomly selected. Okay, USCIS does not look at anyone's application because they don't require that to be filed anymore until you've been selected. Okay, so here the very first step has been completed now by USCIS, and that is called registration. People are randomly selected. It's not because of this employer, this company has stronger political power. And hey, at least that's not what we're told, right? We're just told it's random. Okay, so here's the deal, and it's, by the way, $10 for registration, but it's closed. All right, so for a lot of people, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have been stuck about this H1B every year, okay? Because registration is every March of every year, and I'm going to see if the USCIS website has any info on the statistics of this, if they updated it, okay? So here's the next step. If for some reason you have been selected, hey, congratulations. Make sure your employer or your prospective employer checks the system, because some people, especially if they don't have a lawyer, they're just not familiar with the process, right? So they need to proactively check. They are supposed to receive an email, but since it's already March 31st, they might as well proactively check the system, okay? So if you have been selected, you can start applying, submit the applications. Not you, but the employer does. The employer, HR, they have to file the application before the end of June. Okay, but they can file starting April 1st, which is tomorrow. So you might be frustrated. All of us immigration attorneys are frustrated with this process, but I think is currently still a better process than the years past, where it was officially called a lottery. Because back then you still had to pay the attorney or the law firm, if you hired one, everything up front, because they had to do all the work and prepare the application, collect the evidence from you, organize it, make sure it's the evidence that we need, file it first week of April, and then you find out you're not selected. So back then I thought it was backwards. So it's a little bit better. You don't have to pay $10 for USCIS, at least. You don't have to pay all the government fees all at once right now, unless you've been selected, registration, okay? But this video is really about people still stuck in a problem. Let's say you weren't selected for H1B. So there's at least one scenario is, let's say you have, I think traditionally most people say, well, if I'm not selected, I'll just go back to school, get a master's degree. Not everyone has the funds, okay, right? Not everyone has the budget to pay for tuition, for international student tuition. So that's why we have this video, hopefully as timely as possible for folks who are maybe joining later to watch this. And of course, this is not going to go through every single visa option. You would need to talk with a lawyer. There's just a brief touch point summary as some examples that our clients and some of my colleagues have done. So let's get down to it. And Let's see if I can find in the newsroom. Okay, well, here in the meantime, looks like they haven't updated us technically. All they've said so far, at least as of March 27th, is that they received enough registration. So, but they haven't said anything else about the stats. So, one scenario is that if you're in the United States and you still have OPT left over, that'd be great, right? If you have OPT in terms of leftover in terms of coverage until next March, let's say end of next March, preferably at the minimum, then that's great. You can stay here until then. But even if you're selected until next March, you still have to leave, okay, in the meantime. So it's always good to speak with a lawyer one-on-one to just make sure in terms of your coverage for non-immigrant status, because you don't want to go into a situation where you have accidentally overstayed your visa or OPT, even though you were selected for H1B, and then you file the law firm or the employer files the package between April 1st and end of June. And then technically your work start date is not until October 1st of that year that you filed the application. And of course you have to be approved. Okay, so being selected in this past week does not mean approved. There's two separate things. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So you might think, well, what other options are there? Okay, so I just may have mentioned this yesterday, but there could be a situation where you have worked for another company before you went to school, for example. So typically, most people think about like H1B as a visa that most only like students apply for, that you just graduated. But actually, there's no age restriction. Okay, it's just synonymous typically with people that just graduated. But you could be outside America right now. Maybe you weren't selected previous years. You don't have to have gone through this, but let's say you're outside America now and you are currently working for another company, right? That's outside America. So this is option number one, and that's called L visa. So maybe your company outside America wants to open a new office, or maybe they already have an office in America. It doesn't matter what state it is, but want you to work there. So there's generally three different positions that is as an executive to work in America, or you can work in America as a manager, or the third one we call LB visa. L1B is as someone who has specialized knowledge. So that definitely requires more in-depth review strategy session with an attorney to make sure that your proposed occupation in America is a position that has specialized knowledge. Okay, so that hopefully give you an idea. So we have free guides about this on our website, greencardguides.com. You can scroll down and you can access those free guides. I believe how it works that you just have to enter your email and it'll just pop up from what I remember my team put together. So that give you an idea. So that's one option, okay? And we'll go through every requirement for that. But even if you're here on a student visa, but you worked for a company outside America before, that could still count. Again, L Visa is a company that is looking to expand. So essentially they want to have an office in America, or they already have one existing right now and they want you to work there. Okay. And again, this is not for any position. It really requires an in-depth review with an attorney one-on-one. Now, another one that some people may not have considered is something called extraordinary ability, the O1 visa. So some of y'all might think, oh, I'm not so extraordinary. Don't put yourself down like that. Now, again, this is not usually any kind of immigration visa. It's not easy in that sense. You need an attorney to review it. You review your CV, your resume, your background, your work history. So it might seem a little annoying. You got to talk about yourself, right, to the attorney, so we can learn more about your background. But of course, the very first thing is I would recommend like for us, when you if you were to fill out our form online, just asking for basic info. But if you kind of want to we do charge to do a full review. But if you want us to just have a brief overview before we have the consultation, I highly suggest that, so you don't have to spend as much time talking about yourself, I guess. But that's a strange thing. I mean, we've done all this great work, even as in your profession or lawyers. We just grinding every day doing the work, but we forget to take a step back to realize our accomplishments. So trying to tell my team, hey, great job. We have actually like a Slack channel basically for wins, accomplishments. There's just so much work that we're doing to helping people solve their problem or prevent it from happening in the first place. So that's a problem we're trying to prevent right now, that so you don't fall out of status, you don't give up, because we do receive calls. People are like, yeah, I tried that H1B thing and I just overstayed my visa. And we're like, did you talk to a lawyer after that? Like you got to really talk to lawyers, see if there's anything you could be eligible for. And you might be, but you didn't know. So please talk to a lawyer who's experienced with employment-based type visas. So you can get, at least that you vetted it out, okay? That you did your due diligence with an attorney, and you might want to get a second opinion, okay? We are not offended if someone calls us and then they're like, oh, I talked to another lawyer, or I'm going to talk to another lawyer. It's all good. Your legal status is on the line. You want to make sure that it's done correctly. I get it. Okay. But of course, it'd be our pleasure to assist you from start to finish if you decide to choose us. Okay. The important thing is that you just at least speak with an attorney. Okay. So extraordinary ability, this is called O1. This is for an individual. This is, doesn't necessarily have to go through like a formal company employer. Okay, this is someone who possesses extraordinary ability in the sciences, arts, business, education field, or of course, as you probably know, athletics. Because I'm sure like different athletes from different countries. You probably wonder why. How do they come here and work? How do they perform? So it's through O1 or could be through P1 visa, for example. Okay, so this one is so this one really requires looking through your resume. Okay, very, very important. And we know someone that got approved P1 for, like, for example, wakeboarding. Hey, I've never done wakeboarding. I think that'd be cool. And you might not, wakeboarding's, I don't think, always on TV. Maybe they're on ESPN, but or they as in that sport. But so that's what I'm trying to say. Don't cut yourself short. Like if it doesn't have to be like basketball or something or anything like that. But my point is there could be like a category where in your field that most people don't know about, so it's not as common, but you've achieved a lot of things in that field and you have proof of it. Okay. So hopefully I'll give you an idea. You really got to promote yourself. It's almost like you're your own brand ambassador. So I'm just thinking of, trying to share a bit overview of strategies where you're already here in the US, but maybe you don't have the credentials or enough background at this moment. And that's okay. At least you know about it briefly, so that if you had to go back to your country in the meantime, you could start working on that, okay, to build up your resume, essentially, to build up your profile. You really got to be your own brand ambassador. You are your own best advocate, essentially, okay? Let's see here. So let's see. I have a question from Anu. Let's see. Is that all I want to cover mostly? Yeah, I mean, that's mostly it. I mean, if you're here, like if you're from the one other one is, before I answer Anu's question, in Clabita, is TN visa. But TN visa is more restrictive because it depends on occupation type, and also depends on which country you're from. It's only allowed for people who are in Canada or Mexico. Okay, so it's originally created through NAFTA, North American Freedom of Trade Agreement. It's called something else, USMC, I believe. They made it, they made it as simple as possible. US for United States, and for Mexico, and then C for Canada. So, I wonder who titled it that way. Interesting. Let's see here. So, the quick rundown that Anu just asked on YouTube. Nice to see you again, Anu. What's the difference between O1 and EB1 and IW? So NIW basically is short for National Interest Waiver. It helps to most people lately these days like that because you can skip the labor certification, which is kind of like the middle step of the process, which freaking is traditionally takes the longest amount of time, like minimum 8 months. It's basically to test the market to make sure that you're not the foreign national is not taking a job from a U.S. citizen or resident. It's just ridiculous. The step before that is already recruitment. So I just don't understand. Maybe I don't understand the policy reason other than maybe intentionally delaying people. So that's why people like NIW to try to avoid this whole labor certification under EB2, or they go through this EB1, which EB1 you can skip bulk of the process as well, but that NIW through EB2 or the EB1, okay, that is to basically it's much faster essentially. Okay, you're skipping a lot of time in that sense. Okay, so but those two are for green card, for residency, and then O1 is for non-immigrant visa for temporary work visa with no direct pathway to green card, even though you could apply for EB1 through what we call extraordinary ability. So let's see here. Okay, so question 2. So that's just intended for like a quick overview. Here's Claubita on Instagram asking or telling me that you sent your package to USCIS Chicago 10 days ago. Okay. 10 days ago and it hasn't arrived yet. What should you do? Okay, so it sounds like you have tracking number on it, at least, maybe FedEx or USPS, Postal Service. It hasn't arrived. So it hasn't arrived, so it sounds like it could be USPS, and that's okay. We send some packages that way. I will just keep tracking it. Usually it's USCIS fault, but in this situation, since I haven't received this, USPS or whoever you used for your courier. So I will just probably wait on it at least another week. But if still not delivered, and maybe because sometimes we've seen things like it's at this facility and stuck, and let's say it's stuck there for like at least 3 days, then I would call USPS, for example. Call them directly to see what the heck is going on. Yeah, your other comment is that you're already delayed. Okay, yeah. You don't have status currently. Well, hopefully, Claubita, I don't know if you hired a lawyer or not, but hopefully and of course you don't have to, but when you say Chicago, depending on the location, I know typically what application you file. So you file in Chicago, that means you're filing for adjustment of status, AOS, which in short name we call it. So AOS means for adjustment of status for residency. Okay. So you said you're here illegally, but hopefully that means you still entered with a visa. Okay. Because if you did not enter with a visa, then you need a waiver. Okay. So hopefully you did, Claubita. I feel better if I know that. You don't have to mention a comment. You can DM me or something. But yeah, lately these cases, at least for marriage-based AOS adjustment of status cases, we've had it approved as soon as 3 months. So some of y'all may have received our email if you're on our email list. We're trying our best to share more wins, more success stories. I know it's kind of crazy. We do all this work and we're grinding every day, and then we forget to share the success story. So I'm trying to help the team with the marketing team on that. But yeah, that we've had the fast one approved 3 months. That is unheard of before 2023. And so we've had several cases waived the interview. So, I credit our team and our proven checklist. And so hopefully everything worked out, Claudita. You said your I-94 expired yesterday. That's okay. I'm glad you entered with a visa. It's okay that your status expired in that sense. Assuming I'm assuming you filed through a spouse who's a U.S. citizen. But by the way, if your spouse is a resident and you file these packages and you file to Chicago, you have to maintain your status. Let's say you change it to like like a non-immigrant visa I just mentioned right now, a second ago, if your spouse is a resident. Because when your spouse is a resident, hot tip right here, folks, if your spouse is a resident and you have not maintained your status, even if it's a different category type, then it doesn't waive. It doesn't allow you to waive the failure to maintain status. So that's why, folks, I always encourage the resident sponsor to become a U.S. citizen, because that will make it a lot better for your spouse. So add that to your wish list, okay, as a birthday gift, because most people don't realize that. And by the time you get to the interview, officer's going to deny it. They won't give you another chance because you had the interview on the spot. You can't say, hold up, I finally found this on Google. No, it's not going to be like that. They're going to make a decision. So you really, even if you file your own case, you might want to get a second opinion. Okay. We're different than most lawyers. We'll tell it to you straight. Okay. We don't play around. Which I do have a unfortunate story I want to share with y'all in a bit, but to Mr. Patel's question, your work permit just got approved. Congratulations. Your lawyer told you it should arrive in a week. Yeah, I mean, that's generally about it. I mean, what about social security number? I would say that usually takes a little bit longer. I'll probably give it up to a month. I mean, hey, if it comes in 2 weeks, that's great. But give the Social Security Administration, SSA, they're probably a little bit more outdated in their process. They probably have no reason to be more efficient. So probably give them up to 30 days on that one. From what I understand, I think it comes in 2 different envelopes, 2 different mailers. Let me know, okay? I actually have not asked my clients that question before, but I assume it's 2 different envelopes because it's 2 different agencies. Your husband is American. Okay, great. Wonderful. Glad to know. So you should be good on that. Okay. Okay, on to YouTube, to Anu. Anu ask, is a green card date current? Or you have to file a priority date on anything related to employment-based cases, or the family preference of family, or your next comment is all PhD students get a quick green card even from India. The visa type, I mean, I don't know. It could be the EB1. I'm not sure. Wait time. Yeah, I'm not sure. Just I can't speculate on things like that on the wait time for that kind of case type. Just depends when you start, essentially. Okay, because you need to have that priority date from the petition. So let's see here. So the story I want to share with you, it's a little bit bad. It's not a little bit. I always try to think of silver lining. Okay, so someone called in the other day that had hired a lawyer back in September of last year, something like around that time. Maybe it was even August last year, and he was coming up on 3 months of his 1 year of entry in the United States. So this is very, very important for asylum. So whether or not the government agrees with you that your asylum claim would be approved, that part doesn't matter. I understand when people tell us stories, we hope it's the truth when you're filing these applications, but they don't investigate that in the beginning. The very, very important part is you file that asylum application I-589 within 1 year of your entry, okay? Now, if you're here on a non-immigrant visa right now and then you file asylum later, it's a different situation. But this person entered without status, without a visa. And so anyway, that person hired a lawyer, okay? And number one, the contract, I took a look at it, the contract's not specific. We are very, very specific in what we do in our services. Like, for example, file XYZ application. Like that person's contract just said just generally like represent you for asylum court hearing. Like it's just too general, right? And then I think most people, I don't think y'all, I think y'all that would hire a lawyer appreciate this information. So that's why we're on these live shows, to give y'all examples, tips if you file yourself, or tips on what to ask if you're looking for a lawyer one-on-one. Now, I have an office in Dallas and Houston. I'm primarily in Houston. And so we got a spot. We're not going anywhere. Okay. It's a physical location, but yes, primarily we conduct like consultations, meetings, remotely, video call like this because it's faster. Dallas and Houston doesn't have as bad traffic as LA, but man, it's not good. Everyone wants to come to Texas. So it's getting worse. So, that's the other reason, convenience. Okay. So, I know it's a concern for some people that they want a lawyer in person, but either way, we share tips on this, what to consider when you're talking to a lawyer. Okay. So the contract's got to be specific. It was not specific. But aside from that, the lawyer did not file the application within 1 year. In fact, did not file it at all. Number two, did not show up to court, which I think was in November last year. And the client didn't find out, or that person's client didn't find out about the court hearing until his ICE check-in like earlier this year, like maybe a month ago. And the ICE officer said, paperwork, the system here shows your order removed, buddy. You didn't show up to court. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I bet you would be pissed off. You would be so frustrated, especially because you're investing time watching our shows. Man, my goodness. Woo! I'd be pissed off. Okay, so actually I am pissed off. I really, really dislike hearing these kind of stories. Okay, it's very, very unfortunate. I personally would call it malpractice. Some attorneys are a little shy, hesitant to file a complaint or encourage a new client to file a complaint. Look, at least State Bar of Texas, they're very diligent, but it doesn't, require someone. Every time someone files a complaint, that doesn't mean like a lawyer is going to get penalized in a sense. I mean, I hope that anyone does file a complaint against someone that is legitimate. I've had like 2 complaints filed against me. They were not legitimate. I was helping people, and it was strange. It was really strange. Long story short, I agreed to a continuance because a new lawyer was on the case. This is a long time ago when I first started my career. And then I think that's what made me realize I don't want to do family law anymore. Maybe some people are not as reasonable in family law. But yeah, I can't go into detail about that. But yeah, I was not required to file a response. So I was very fortunate. And the other situation was I was helping a community member help, to explain the bond process for helping their friend to get out of jail, another female friend, and they're just in a bad spot. So I helped explain it, and somehow the husband complained, called my office every hour. Blah, 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 blah. Why'd you help my spouse sign this? Like, yo, I'm just explaining things for a fellow person in the community. So yeah, that was pretty crazy. I couldn't believe that happened. So yeah. And unfortunately, I don't help people in that situation. If there's just a random question like that, like if someone asks me about how what's the bond process work for criminal law, I need a friend to help me, I just refer out now. I'm not willing to take that risk. So that's the problem, right, of filing these kind of complaints. It's got to be legit. And in this person's situation called us last week, it's pretty legit. This is malpractice, in my opinion. And some attorneys have malpractice insurance, some don't. I do. So if for whatever reason I do make a mistake, which Oh, we really talk about process every single day. My team is probably annoyed at me, but we have very specific about our steps so that there is no gap in anything we do. Okay. Because if there's a gap, there could be a problem, right? And we want to make sure there's no gap in our service. So essentially, yeah. So I share this story with you. We just emailed this, our marketing team just emailed this out to share because if you do hire another lawyer or if you consider us, well, it'll be our pleasure again. You should ask us these questions like, for example, when are you going to file my case? When are you going to file my application? Because this person probably did not ask that question. The lawyer didn't start thinking about the process. As soon as we have a consultation, we immediately already start thinking the process. What's step number one? What's step number two? We share that in a consultation. Look, we don't just have a consultation say, look, buddy, you're eligible. Okay, we're going to go through the whole process as best as possible. You're an engineer. Okay, great. Yeah, we need more engineers in America, actually. We have a lot of problems, especially in the plants, apparently. So we need to get that updated. Anu says, I know once can't help a friend, but definitely can help a paid client. And these forums could be an allowed thing. Yeah. So, I love helping people, right? Just like these shit live shows, but I'm really, really hoping no one files a complaint against me because of the live shows. So, and I think at least State Bar Texas on the complaint form, the very first question is, were you a client? So of course I wasn't a client for this last person I mentioned about just explaining the bond process. I don't know, just people don't understand the bail bond process, helping their buddy. So I guess the husband just didn't know either. So in general, that's why we like to share information so that you have more knowledge to take action, to take the appropriate action. Okay. So yeah, Claudita, we actually have a separate Slack channel about workflow. So I think you would like that. And especially anytime I update it. Alrighty, so let's see here. What else to share with y'all? Well, hey, I appreciate the hearts. If you enjoy the content that I share on usually a daily basis, please smash the hearts. And if you're on YouTube, click the like button. And if you're new to our channel, of course, please follow and subscribe down below. If you're just now joining, we do offer free 15-minute preliminary consultation. Whether you filed your case already or you're just about to get started, you're about to propose to your fiance, we're happy to even consult at that time. It doesn't mean you have to, hire us in that moment. We're just trying to educate so that you understand what could be a faster way. So I'm going to cover that next week. Actually, the topic would be, is fiance visa faster than marriage visa? So stay tuned on that because there's a lot of information you know. And so we're going to start covering more about employment-based and investor visa because I know a lot of y'all are like, I tried the dating scene and yeah, it's not working out. Don't worry. It's okay. There's other options out there that most lawyers don't talk about. Most lawyers only accept the easy cases, I guess you could say, easier, more straightforward. As you can tell, we call ourselves the immigration problem solver. So we're more than happy to help pivot strategy for you and go the other, but of course we explain it. We want to make sure you're comfortable with that strategy because some of y'all are not comfortable with it, and that's okay. Usually when you go talk to another lawyer, the last resort they tell you is, well, you could just get married. No one wants to hear that. Okay, I get it. No one wants to hear that. I wouldn't want to hear it. So that's the deal. You need a lawyer that will consider other options for you. And look, we'll consider it, but you might not be eligible for it. At least we talked about it. And usually the other worst case scenarios is, have you been a victim of a crime? It could be from your significant other or, completely random, like a victim of drinking and driving. Doesn't necessarily mean that you had to have gotten hurt, but in hope, there's a lot of bad stories about drinking and driving. So by the way, if you're a drinker, take Uber, take Lyft, take a taxi, or drink at home. My goodness. these days, no one should be getting DWI with these like technology apps available. Okay, it's just I just don't understand. You got to be safe. It's not worth it. I've had friends got DWI. Oh my gosh, it's like it really made a mess for their ability to, in a career. So it's very unfortunate to hear. And of course, I've heard, you always hear the news like I'm from Dallas originally, so I hear about like the Dallas Cowboys players. A couple of them had DWI. And they like, I remember, I'm not going to say the name, but yeah, it was several years ago. They drinking and driving, it killed someone. But I don't know why it works this way, but like usually the drinking driver person is, I mean, I'm not trying to like ill will, but like that usually it's a story where the person who's drinking and driving is the one that lives, but the victim, of course, passes away. So it's very, very unfortunate. Just please take Lyft or Uber. That's my personal advice. Let's see what I'll share with you. But yeah, I know some of y'all are shy. So if you are shy, you don't want to talk with us yet, don't worry, we don't bite, but you can give us a call. But if you don't, you can go to our website, find one of our free guides at greencardguys.com and just take a look at the information. And hopefully that encourages you to give us a call sooner than later. Okay. No obligation to hire. You shouldn't feel obligated to hire anyone. You're just seeking information. I understand. So today is, I know you said it's like medicine, your ex-boyfriend. Well, I didn't read your full statement, so maybe I shouldn't be laughing. My ex-boyfriend can't help a girlfriend, but paid clients are fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit different. I think maybe we misunderstood each other on that one. But yeah, we there's no way I could have represented this person. They were just helping to sign off on the bond, and they just didn't understand the rules or whatnot to be obligated, financial obligations, and the husband still complained. So that was kind of ridiculous. So yeah, the person I was trying to help out wasn't even a defendant on the case. Wasn't so. Let's see here. Any other questions? Okay, but yeah, today did I answer? Yeah, I answered Mr. Patel's question. Speaking of chlamydia, you mentioned about delays. I'll just end with this, that if you are suffering delays, if it's what we call unreasonable delays, then you message us, okay? Call us, message us, send us an email. Let us know when you filed your case. Let us know what stage your case is, because if it's what we call, if the amount of time you've waited is what we call unreasonable, then we will recommend to file a lawsuit. It could be against USCIS. If it's like even if a petition, and typically we don't file lawsuit on petitions like I-130 or I-140, but some people like we had a client who has some criminal history, but it's not the crimes that would prevent someone from what's it called? From petitioning, from sponsoring. Sorry, I lost my track of thought right there. But because there's some kind of criminal history, it just like a fork in the road. USCIS put the case to where if the crime would have prevented them. And usually, it's, by the way, if you're wondering, you usually would get stopped if or prevented from sponsoring if it's crimes related to children. So this client, he actually was referred to me by one of my colleagues, my friends, also immigration lawyer. They're helping on the fiance visa case, and so she referred us to do the mandamus case, to file a lawsuit, and boom, less than 2 months, it got put on the other side of the fork, basically, and all back on track on the train, basically. And because it went to the other side originally, where if it was that situation, you need to do biometrics to check your criminal background. But his crimes didn't prevent him from sponsoring. So filed lawsuit, went back on track. And actually, I was just told that the fiance just came here just like a couple weeks ago. So we're very happy. They updated us. That's very nice. They updated us. And so that's an example. It could be that's not typically the case we would file against, but I mean, sometimes there's delays on that. It could be all sorts of delays all throughout the case, even for U.S. citizenship. Which, by the way, if you're eligible to become a U.S. citizen, you might want to consider it because under Biden administration, they're really getting those done faster. We've had as fast as like 2 to 4 months on average lately. Okay, the past year. So it's not just green card cases being proved fast. And I think policy-wise, they probably want. I think there's a big assumption. It's wrong, but a bad assumption that foreign nationals, immigrants tend to be maybe Democrat, which I am a Democrat. I consider myself moderate Democrat, by the way. So hopefully, you can work things out. If you're extreme on either side, let's chat about it. But anyway, they're processing these cases much faster. Thank goodness. Clabita, I'll answer your question. I'll get back to Anu. You asked how long is unreasonable for waiting time for green card? No, now I know because you filed Chicago, you enter with a visa, and your spouse is a citizen. I mentioned 3 months was the fastest one we just got a couple weeks ago, but I would say without looking at my chart, about 18 months, 16 to 18 months, if you have not received the interview date yet. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. So hopefully, and maybe you might not even have an interview. Okay, so that'd be even better. Back to Anu. Okay, maybe you are on the same page. In medicine, like the medicine field. Okay, I see what you're saying. Gotcha. The medicine field, the industry. Okay. One should not review or help friends, families, relatives with professional things. Oh yeah. It's just a boundary thing because I've had an old friend back in college. I was helping with like one of these kind of delay type cases. And just like, contact in the weekend. I just, any professional needs some boundaries, right? Just it shouldn't even actually not even professional. It could be any occupation. You need some boundaries from work. So of course, because a friend is friends with me, they have my contact information. They text me on the weekend. So we just had to cut it dry, unfortunately. Cut it black and white. Because fortunately I was thinking about my mental health a long time ago. But like it's a more common topic these days. Fortunately, it still needs to be talked about. Like the RIP to the students, the kids and adults that were killed in Tennessee last week. Rest in peace. Very, very unfortunate. So that's a conversation needs to keep talking about. All right, folks, it's been a pleasure. Today is Friday, so catch you on the flip side on Monday. You'll have a great weekend. Take care.